We are live.
Wow.
Bango. Good evening.
Election evening with Canada's most wanted men. But Erickson, Nix, and King. Holy Hannah, guys. Let's go. How are we feeling?
Feeling good.
All good.
I am anyway.
Wow.
So
this is it.
So this is a hangout and an exploration to go over some of the key points leading into this day tomorrow, which is going to be kind of a big day, and a last minute kind of discussion around it. Try and urge people to get out there and exercise their civic duty to participate in democracy by making a check with a pen or a pencil every 4 to 6 years. Sometimes
did I hear that right? A pencil?
You can use a pencil. I mean,
yeah, Canada, you can use anything.
I voted a couple of years ago when I was back in Canada, and they gave me a pencil, and I just couldn't believe like the amount of paper and the amount of people that was going into each of these polls. It's like it's a very large footprint, and then but then at the core there's a pencil involved with it all. So. I don't know how you guys feel about it, but I feel like...
Hey, apparently that's sustainable.
Well, I mean, is it...
Actually, Kyle, if you share my screen, I'll prove that it's not. You can actually use a pen. So this is directly right from Elections Canada for anybody out there who is wondering. You can use a black lead pencil to mark their ballot. However, there is nothing in the law that prevents an elector from marking their ballot with a pen or a pencil. So I suggest to everybody, bring your pens, bring black pen or a blue pen. And that's right off Elections Canada. So for anybody who was wondering.
Now, is this because they're using Scantron like we had in high school? They like a good graphite pencil. It's got to be like an HB pencil.
I would believe so, that they just run it in and it reads where we used to, you had A, B, C, or D and you colored that little dot.
Yeah.
But this is directly off of the website. So you can use a pen. I suggest using a pen. They're saying that, there's always that risk that they can erase. It'd be a long time sitting there and erasing, but this is a pen allowed. No scans in the federal election.
Is that true?
Well, I know they have the Dominion voting machines, so I haven't seen them at any polling station that I've been to.
Load us up, Sophie. Keep telling us what's going on here. Tamara saying, bring your own pen.
Absolutely.
Definitely.
So from my standpoint in everything on this, we've had elections in Canada before, even the one during the scamdemic in 2021, even that one was, it wasn't as nerve-wracking as this one is right now. To watch this happening across Canada, watching it unfold and all the allegations. You've got two running. We forget about that there's, the guys from the Green Party. Yves Blanchette has come up, and I'm actually impressed with how he handled the debate. I thought he did very well. So on that, I give him a lot of props. Carney got actually handed in both debates. He got schooled in all of them. But Pierre, I see Pierre, he's the underdog in all of this, but everybody's saying he's a politician, not just a politician. He's a polished politician because he's been there for so long. But in fact, if you do your research on Pierre, even when he came in and his little essay that he wrote, and I've read it right from one end to the other, he's never changed that stance in 20 years. And I know there was some hiccups within the Conservative Party, but I have a feeling that they actually got a control of it now. I think with all the shuffling around within them, they might have a chance. But like everybody else, we're all on pins and needles on this outcome because for some reason, Kyle, I don't know what, your brother did, but he got a lot of people just swooning over the Liberal Party, my man. And I don't know what happened. And now they bring in Mr. Carney with his track record, walked in the door with a bloody scandal. Right out of the gate, he walked in with a scandal. That's, for me, I don't know how the Liberals can go ahead. Liberal voters can actually vote for this guy after what we've already gone through.
I mean, I think it comes down to just like, the coordinated power of the subsidized mainstream media in Canada and how effective it is. Like, if you're not on X, if you're not tuning in to some of the alternative channels that you actively have to go and kind of seek, you are going to just be bombarded with like, a very sophisticated, very polished stream of kind of, deeply it presents itself as objective, but it's incredibly subjective. Designed to like foment, like create like real negative visceral like reactions to people. Like I remember, like my mother, for example, like obviously she's a unique case, but like like I remember I said Max Bernier's name once, and she's like, "God, Nazi!"
Oh
And
no, really?
no, like just instantly, or like Pierre Poilievre's like snake. It's like it's deep. He's like he's so bad because he's been the opposition leader for a long time, and literally all they do in this game of houses in the House is just like they say up, they say down. It's just like attack it. It's just constant, like going back and forth against each other. And I really liked Mac. I really like Max Bernier. I really like the PPC, and I thought like the PPC got so much good energy of like really passionate, freedom-loving, innovative, like conservative libertarians in Canada. And this was one of the challenges of the last election was so much of that real heart, like drive, passion went over into the PPC camp, and like did a like was expended bringing in like what, like 3-4% of the vote, which ultimately led to like a very which led to like 20 seats or more as a result of the PPC being there. So
I'm in one of the ridings.
Go around. There's no chance. The PPC doesn't have enough people. Doesn't have enough awareness. Like it's not there. And my core thing is if you're not in the room, if you're not participating in the discussions, they're not going to be listening to that. So if all that PPC energy and passion and intelligence and ideas can like go into the Conservative Party, now the Conservative Party old guard, they might not like it, just like the Republican old guard doesn't like MAGA and didn't like the Tea Party movement. Like the Freedom Convoy needs to get back into the Conservative Party and help clean that place up. And like and because Pierre isn't necessarily like, he doesn't fully represent the entire Conservative Party either. I think he's got to be pretty careful with his words. But I think he's like, he's an excellent leader. And one of the things is, I'm not sure if I think he's an intelligent leader, and he's been very careful, and he's a career politician, but he's very intelligent. I think unlike the Liberals that want the government to be in control of everything and fix all the problems, and the government has the solutions for everything, Pierre's saying government doesn't need to, it's not government's business to make the solutions for everybody. We can do just fine without the government fucking doing everything. You know what I mean?
Well, it's interesting you bring up this. I kind of look at the demographic of, this polished presentation for the Liberal camp. And, I see basically what I see. Let's be realistic here. I went to a few care homes since I got back to Canada. And yeah, I came back here just for this occasion. Honestly, I can't believe the tens of thousands of Canadians that have left Canada just because of the last 5 years. It's unbelievable.
Well, the total is 453,000 Canadians have left the country.
Oh, and they took all their money with them. Trust me, I've been selling people condos left, right, and center down in Mexico. So let me just reiterate. What's interesting, since I got back to Canada, I went to a couple seniors' homes because I have a lot of friends that are in that community. And it's unbelievable. When I went into the seniors' care home, they got Canadian flags outside their doors. They got like these people are like boots on the ground, patriotic, and they are all supporting Mark Carney, man. They're all about Carney, liberals, liberals, liberals. You can go around any of there's communities in the Okanagan here that are 45 plus age group. Same thing. All of a sudden, you drive around these neighborhoods, they got flags hanging out their doors. Elbows up. It's like this is their thing. And as far as I'm concerned, this is just fucking elder abuse. And I'm not sorry for swearing. It's elder abuse. They're being lied to. They're being manipulated. They're being coerced. They're being provoked, and they're being manipulated into fear, just like all the same tactics during COVID when everybody rolled up their sleeve. That's elbows up.
Well, that's a liberal game book. They play off crisis. And that's what you've been seeing for the last 10 years. Crisis, crisis, crisis. If it wasn't the oil and gas industry at first when Justin got in, then it was the environment, and then it was climate crisis. Then it was carbon tax. It's a carbon crisis. And now what do you got now? You've got Carney pitching a crisis with Donald Trump. And Donald Trump, it doesn't even pertain. We find out in days before the election that Carney lied about the whole conversation.
And Pat, just remember during the U.S. election, wasn't it there was aliens invading all the major cities?
What happened to the drones, Kyle? Hey, Donald Trump, what happened to the drones, man?
The aliens are coming.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's important.
They're sticking out nukes.
And just to reiterate, I don't take elder abuse lightly at all, right? And I think it's really important that our generation and our youth really start to educate our seniors and our grandparents and our moms and our dads that are in those senior centers, because they're just being manipulated, they're being lied to, and they need to be taken aside and explained. Hey, this is what's going on, Grandma. Hey, Grandpa, like this is what's going on. And these guys, to me, this is a crime. You're not allowed to induce fear and lie to people and manipulate vulnerable seniors. You want to talk about a vulnerable population? Seniors are one of the most vulnerable parts of our society, right? So,
you guys heard of this? Ballots being taken home with workers.
That was in BC, my province.
Oh yeah,
James.
That was in BC. Yeah.
It's not right. They should go in a lockbox, but there is a stipulation in there when they're opening back up in the morning that they go with the whatever their position is, the scrutineer, and they have possession of it. Now, do you trust that? I don't know. I don't. I think they should get in a lockbox. I still remember the election where they stole it on Trump and Biden got in. I still remember watching it at 3:00 in the morning, seeing the van show up at the Detroit, Michigan polling station, and fucking box after box after box came in. And I saw the dip right at 3:32 in the morning, the dip in the scale. And it was like, wow. And then all of a sudden you can't find any of that footage or that material anymore.
It's really interesting, the technology we have today. We have literally a $4 trillion market cap on cryptocurrency. Banks from around the world are adopting it. And here we are still voting with pens and pencils. Kyle, we've talked about election legitimacy for how many years over the past while. Why we're not using a blockchain technology with a paper ballot.
Well, that's what we were saying years ago, Jamie. We were saying the blockchain, and then all of a sudden people stole that idea and they're using it as theirs now. The same fucking concept, man. I'm watching it, man. It's
I mean, and there's ways that it can be just used, like, you don't need to go necessarily to everybody like casting votes on it, but even just like every single polling station
has the option.
Like once they count their votes and then verify their votes, like put that like final count, like put that on chain, and then like that's a way that not every vote needs to be done. You can still use it, but that's like the hybrid way as we get towards that. From my perspective, the long game is like thinking about upgrading the entire governance system so that we have better representation through and through, that we represent ourselves a little bit. Because honestly, I don't think any of those people that you're checking boxes on truly represent you maybe more than maybe 5, 10, 20%.
Well, that's the plan. Like, there is a restructuring of our electoral system coming, and I can sense it in the people. You know, I can feel it that people want this change that's just going to be a tiny Band-Aid over a gaping wound, which is the Canadian election system, along with our parliamentary system. There needs to be an absolute reform of it. But right now, they push the snap election on us that we have no choice. In 30 days, we've got this choice. Well, which one? Lesser of the two evils. And you got the PPC people in here, like you were saying, yeah, the platform's good. The people behind it are passionate. But at the same time, it's not the time right now. This is a chance in our history where we have the opportunity to see the little guy who's like, hey, man, I'm going to do everything you want me to do. And he's preaching the preach and he's talking the talk. And he's like, you know, I'm going to do everything needs to be done. And I know all the answers. Well, we're not going to go back and do what we just did in the last 9.5 years because that'd be insane. So give them the chance. Give them the chance, guys. Take your votes. Give it to him as best as possible. And then when he makes that mistake, then you've got both wings of the bird flapping together at the same time. You've got the left and the right understanding that this system is corrupted, this system is broken, and we need serious change. And that's when we come out of the gate and we say, hey, you know what? Perry, nice try, man. But you know what? The people are going to take over now. We're going to rewrite our constitution for us. If not, there's got to be a major reform on Section 33 of the Charter that gets the government out of our rights and that does not allow the government to. We need something that protects us. And Carney said it the other night. That Charter of Rights and Freedoms, that's designed to protect the citizens from people like myself. Well, it hasn't worked worth a shit over the last 5 years. I'm a product of it.
So it's interesting we're talking about this. I just got something I want to share you about, you know, fairness in elections. If you could share my screen there, Kyle, I'm not sure if you're able to throw that up there. You know, this is one of the things that's always been a concern to me. And this isn't a concern that's been mine from today, tomorrow. I actually have been thinking about this exact problem since honestly, I think it was probably in grade 8 or grade 9. I was really looking at how this is all structured. And I think it's so unfortunate that as a Western Canadian, somebody that's lived in British Columbia, I'm watching the news and the election's called before I've even went to vote. Right? It's so unfortunate that our entire country's election is decided before one vote even counts in Manitoba. Right? And it's just, to me, like that's a stacked deck. That's like going to a casino and there's no aces, there's no joker, there's no kings, queens, and you're trying to play blackjack. Right? Yeah, this is just a losing hand. It's a rigged hand. It's a rigged deck. And nothing that Western Canada can say from the history of the development of this country can have a different effect. It's mathematically, in my opinion, impossible, especially now when you have this huge concentration. And I will say illegal immigrants in Canada, because Pierre Poilievre boldly enough went on a podcast the other day and admitted that all immigrants that come to Canada do not go through a proper vetting and criminal background check. They go through Canada's CPIC background check, but they don't bring their criminal background check from their country. So we have hundreds of thousands of potential illegal voters, criminals, people that shouldn't even have been in the country, and they're all saturated in these pockets in voting areas that completely stack the deck against the rest of the country. And I feel that until this diagram right here, this diagram is addressed and made equal, so all the provinces have a say, all the provinces and the territories have a seat at the table and feel like equal partners, then what are we doing? Right? And I hope that at some point in time in my life, Well, I'm here on this planet, and as a Canadian born, that this can be resolved and fixed. Like this is fixed.
Yeah, I
But
mean, we're not going to fix that. We can't fix that like, tonight
I
though.
understand. I
Like,
understand
but
that.
this is the underlying system. It's right. You're right. It's the election is oftentimes determined, before any votes are tallied from
Yeah,
center.
and for anybody that lives in Manitoba, Saskatchewan, Alberta, and BC, you wonder why there's this animosity, why there's this frustration, why there's this freedom movement, because you wouldn't have the United Nations Migration Compact, you wouldn't have the carbon tax, you wouldn't have had the Freedom Convoy if we just had representation and people actually listened. It's like, fuck, it doesn't matter what those fools out in Western Canada think, right? We'll just steamroll them, and we're just going to continue doing what we're doing. So
I'm sorry, Jamie, I got to ask,
yeah,
Kyle, we just celebrated Easter. We were all, while we were going through Easter, what was it like around the family dinner table with Mom and Uncle Mark? Like, how's Uncle Mark feeling?
Fucking Uncle Mark, I know, right? Everyone's wondering, like, what is going on?
But how's he feeling about the election? How's Uncle Mark feeling?
I think Uncle Mark is like, he's cautiously optimistic because, the thing about Uncle Mark, it's Uncle Mark, he's just one man, but he's got friends. And when I tell you Uncle Mark's got some friends, Uncle Mark has some serious friends. He was part of this group called Bilderberg. A lot of people don't know about Bilderberg, but Uncle Mark has been actually attending those meetings. A lot of other prime ministers, they didn't go to those meetings. They had their other people. They had like the Jerry Butts of the world, the Dalton McGuinty's of the world, and then all the heads, all the media and the industries, pharmaceutical, war, media, they all gathered with no cameras on whatsoever, though. And this is where they kind of plan. It happens year in, year out. So these are Uncle Mark's friends. And this is the thing. Uncle Mark has this great team. He inherited a great team from my brother Justin. So Justin had like an unbelievable team. And they were able to put out like the best prop of all time and make like the Hunger Games, like what was his name? Like Snow. Yeah, made Snow look like not like they were learning from Snow. Like it was like he'd be proud of Justin and their team, because then they took that whole team and they're like, okay, now we got this election. And guess what? Uncle Mark gets in, and instantly he's like 36 days he's going to launch an election. I remember he announced that day, and then one of his people, Leslie Church, she literally had 1,000 signs ready to go, giant billboards, all ready to go. So Uncle Mark and his friends and his team, they're well prepared for this. And now Uncle Mark comes in as like look at me, I'm a professional economist and I'm a banker. I'm not just any kind of banker either.
He's bragging about being a globalist and
a banker. I am the best kind of banker because I'm the one who actually gives the other bankers the money. So they all look up to me, really. It's like, and the other thing about Uncle Mark is he likes this thing called a CBDC. He wants to get rid of the other banks. He wants you to sign up for an account with him and his buddies at central banks, and they'll give you permission to use money, and it's going to be really easy. It's going to be like crypto, but way easier, and you'll be rewarded for your compliance. It's going to be great.
Good behavior.
So when I went to the Bilderberg conference in 2019, I had no idea that was your uncle, but I caught him on the boat. And I've got pictures of Mark rubbing elbows with Michael Sabia and Secretary General of NATO. And I've got him rubbing elbows with Michael Pompeo and Jared Kushner. And I had no idea it was him, honestly. And guys, we're playing it off. I see the chat going off. People saying they're going to puke in their mouth right now. Uncle Mark it's a joke. Kyle is in no way related to Mark Carney.
Please clear that up.
The internet has gone absolutely bananas over it.
I know, it's great, and it created this opportunity to be a little bit playful and bit silly, but in a satirical, funny manner that gets lots of views and gets people kind of questioning. Just like that, honestly, the bullshit disinfo campaign around Justin with Castro that instantly got everybody talking about that, as opposed to anything of real substance. It's just a total derailment. This isn't really a derailment because we're actually going to drill in hard. But the core of this was literally like some newspaper clipping that Mark Carney's mother was like Verily Kemper, and her father was John Anthony Kemper. My grandfather was John Albert Kemper. Same name, Kemper. Like, oh God, could there be two Kempers? It turns out there are multiple branches, and there's no affiliation whatsoever. But on April 1st, I leaned into it and made a video, and
that was awesome.
Didn't make it too much clearer. I'll say that.
Yeah. But it's funny, and it was a good segue because I look at this right now. Mark Carney must be walking around like a peacock right now because he knows his buddies are involved in this election and what's going to happen with this election. But I hope, like all the way across Canada, and this is my stretch to everybody, guys, to everybody listening on all these platforms that we're sharing it out to. I know everybody's got it spammed to all of their social medias, but honestly, this is the time where we need to make this a moment in Canadian history that it is a huge turnout in this direction. And I'm saying in this direction because we need, like I said, there's a gaping wound over Canada right now, and she's gushing in our arterial bleed right now. And this is our moment where we can put that pack of gauze on it and start hopefully slowing down some of the bleeding. And this is why it's imperative that we use Pierre. He is talking about it. He is claiming everything. You need to try and at least give Canada that chance. I understand everybody's point of view. Hell, my own point of view is the same. I know they're all rigged, but at this point, we need to give the guy who's claiming to be the leader, the Boy Scout, the Millhouse, we need to give him a chance. Because if nobody sees it, if the one side doesn't see that it's not rigged, then we'll never get to a solution where we can all be at the table and say, hey, yeah, my party wasn't great. Hey, my party wasn't great. Hey, both our parties weren't really that great. Can we agree that something needs to change? And that's when you're going to start to garner people moving around and getting the shit
What's
fixed.
the screen we're sharing here? It says reach.
So yeah, I wanted to move on from the joking and move into a little bit of core action, something that everybody can do. So there's an app called Reach. This is something that we used extensively within the Kennedy campaign, and all sides are using it down here in American politics. And what it allows you to do is basically send out a similar message that can include videos or images to your contacts across your thing. So instead of like going one to another, you can literally load up and like message out to everybody. Now is the time. Tomorrow's election day. Now's the time for just potentially a gentle, not an essay, but a gentle, message or a nudge toward just getting out there and doing it. Especially amongst like people who might be a little bit apathetic or like might not, just a little fucking nudge. Just get out there, guys, go vote. Because one of the things is coming back to like that medium. The app is called Reach, 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 and it's on both the app stores, and it's simple and it's easy. But at the end of the day, the media has been like doing this. Uncle Mark's friends are really fucking good at like painting this picture. Just like in Ottawa during the convoy, there was two realities of what occurred there. The reality of what people saw with their eyes when they went there and entered it, or watched the live streams or listened to the people on the ground, and the reality of what the media was showing. This really scary thing where people were like, I'm not leaving. It's dangerous. Just like, the whole virus, everything. They just lied, and continue to kind of hypnotize and project. Now, I think people have been waking up because it's really a one-way street. You don't go from being, awakened to becoming hypnotized or falling under that spell again. So it's really a one-way street. And I think over the last 10 years, more and more people are waking up. And yet the media, they still control the airwaves, so they project it out. So the important thing is just get out there, vote, make it as they say, too big to rig. I don't think it's even going to be rigged. It's just going to be big, and this is going to be like 2016 and 2024 in America, but in Canada. And there's an opportunity like Canada. Canada naturally goes through these shifts, and it's time for it to shift it back. And no fucking central banker with some Mike Myers elbows up bullshit campaign is going to like instantly win over people, along with like a laundry list of social media influencers who are paid day in, day out to kind of like regurgitate, repost, amplify messages. Just don't believe that's the actual reality, but we shall see.
What I can say, I'll just add to what both you and Pat have said, Kyle. I'll never forget what's happened over this last,
Right.
7 or 8 years.
I want to just address this too. Why would you lie to us, spreading misinformation that Mark's your uncle and making us look stupid? I'm not trying to make anybody look stupid. And if I fooled anybody, or if that has happened, I'm genuinely sorry, and I ask you to forgive me. I'm not trying to fool anybody. What I'm trying to do with this is use familial ties, satire to amplify, get messages around the fact that Mark Carney is an ultimate behind the curtains guy who is now being put in front in the spotlight, and he is incredibly dangerous, and him and liberal government will try and spend to solve all the problems, and they will just reward their friends as they've always done. And I'll be honest, during the last decade, I've been careful with my words, and you want to be careful, around family, but I'm not related to Mark Carney, and he literally represents more. Justin was a front man, a kind of a provocateur, an actor. Mark Carney actually knows what he's been doing and has been working in the boardrooms behind engineering the global climate scam and the carbon credit scam, the offsets, facilitating enormous wealth transfer from Canadian sovereign wealth, let's say, to his friends, to the global corporate oligarchy, the corporatocracy. They view Canada, they don't give a shit about what Canadians think are the best interest of true Canadians. They view it as resources, as a means to pull, to enrich, and they punch down on Canadians and push good Canadian innovators away. They push new money away. Anybody who's successful generally leaves Canada, and they move their money out of Canada. Why? Because it keeps a highly stratified society, and they don't need to be insanely wealthy. As long as they got the power, they're going to be excellent. They've got it. They don't want that new money.
I got a video if you.
One sec. Would it be fair to say that Mark Carney would be your brother's handler in this situation? He's been behind the scenes for so long with his connections that Justin Trudeau was just a front guy, because he doesn't come across as a very intelligent person.
More Jerry Butts was more of a handler, I would say, along
like an
with
on-scene handler.
Media, but Mark Carney would have been the policy, one of the guys actually cooking policy with his wife at the Eurasia Group and Ian Bremner, and that group working towards how are these cats shaped? They literally they view Canada as
what's interesting about that group? That they're actually getting government grants, and they're a US-based company, media company, getting subsidy grants from the federal government of fucking Canada. If that's not, that's foreign interference, right?
It always looked like a think tank that actually had the ability to actualize what they were doing, right? The strategy, tactics, logistics, the war room, and then everything's implemented. Could even be in the States as well too on some aspects, just with Bremer, and you got other guys that are overlapping, right? And even with some of the guys coming up from the States that worked on Obama's campaign, there's a lot of stuff that goes on there that seems to be, it's a unit, right? And the skills, it works, like you were saying earlier with the media, and the way it's not about what they're doing, it's about the opposition hate this person, so they invoke the fear, they get people anxious, and then they point, right? And then people they think they're doing the right thing, which is the saddest thing to see. And for me, it's like I'm sitting here and I'm like, before we came on, I was like, well, I'm starting to think, okay, how do I be positive here? And I'm thinking to myself, maybe I'm black pilled. Like, but the way I look at it is that I understand the argument with the PPC and the CPC. They fight too much. There's good ideas there. There's good people in the Conservative Party. I have friends with both sides. But in this election, we're seeing a situation where I'm not one of those, like, I question the integrity of our system, but at the same time, they wouldn't have people pulling up in the States at 3 a.m. if it was already predetermined, right? So if you have to make them work for it, so making it too big to rig. I haven't lost complete hope, but I am on the side of, when I look at Mark Carney, it's like he seems more like a 2029 guy as far as who do you put in when you look at some of the policies towards Agenda 2030 that we see, as opposed to somebody right now who takes over, calls a snap election, and how he was installed, how they removed people from the Liberal Party to make sure the path was clear for this guy. What worries me is that if you look at the chain of command when it comes to globalists, I don't think anybody, and the term, we can use that loosely here, hopefully. But when we look at the chain of command, Carney's very high up with like what Kyle was saying. He's so high up, and he's got a massive ego and a sense of entitlement. So I don't understand why he would put himself in a situation where he would lose, which concerns me as far as where we see the numbers, how the polling went so fast, and because Poilievre didn't really do anything to cause the massive drop in his numbers, to be honest.
Well, as soon as they put Carney in, that all of a sudden he was like, boom, running, and Pierre loses a 20-point lead. Are you serious?
Yeah, and you got Nick Nanos and all the people here that come out, and it's like, I used to be, like I said, I've admitted numerous times in 2019, I ran, I had a buddy who asked me, I was a campaign manager for the Liberal Party. I will never live that down but it woke me up. I'm a guy from the behind the scenes. They pulled me up in the shadows, a white hat, right? And when I saw the ground game that the Liberals have, when I see the ground game the Conservative Party has with all the data, their ability to get that vote out, that machine is so powerful. I don't even know if it might even violate privacy rights, because I'm looking at the data I have access to. Should I have access to this? I'm not entirely sure. But when you see the ground game and the way it can be mobilized against something to start with, that's what it seems to be. They light the fire and then they just pour gasoline on it, and everyone's like, where do I vote? What do I do? Do I get a shot? Do I do this? Right?
So are you seeing any similarities? Are you seeing any similarities then to Carney's campaign with what
it's
you
the same machine.
experienced?
It's the same machine. They can create the narrative. They can push the narrative. I think that CBC has been anti-conservative for a very long time. And when you look at global, CTV News and CBC, it's hegemony here. And so when you look at, like I said, I'm a big fan of some of the PPC policies, some of the candidates I'm friends with. I like them. I hope we get somebody in. I don't care if it's libertarian. I don't care if it's PPC, somebody in there to kind of break the echo chamber, shake things up a little bit. And to me, I think that's the problem. I think there's too much narrative control from within the parliament. But at the same time, it's really hard for the Conservatives. When you see the size of Poilievre's rallies in comparison to Carney, it's just like, it's no different than Trump. Right, you see these massive turnouts in 2020, and all of a sudden, it's 81 million votes, or whatever went to Biden, right?
Well, I mean, you look at all the user generated open polling too, and it's just it's landslide. They project out it's the radical fringe minority that is that was represented in the convoy. It's man, bullshit. You guys represent this radical fringe minority, to be honest. And it's the amount of the real amount of support that they have for their policy, it's so low that
I'll tell you the truth. I don't think Carney wants to be the prime minister. I think he's going to try to lobby and win, and then he'll slide out and he'll just seat somebody else in. That's what they did in British Columbia, man. That's what they did with the NDP, and that's exactly what Carney's going to do. He doesn't want to be the PM of Canada. It's just to win. He doesn't have a seat. He slides out. He's not even going to win his own riding, and they're going to place somebody else in.
I think he'd enjoy the ride a little bit. I think he'd like the power and the ability to direct.
I want to bring some humor. This guy was in New Brunswick. I think you guys will love this. Show this video. I'll play it. This was hilarious. Watch Mark. Watch Uncle Mark.
Uncle Mark. Can't hear it.
Can't hear.
No volume, Pat.
Look at the security, though, eh? Oh, wow.
No volume?
No.
You got Mark Carney rubbing out.
Huh.
That is
pretty
the
funny even without
dumbest
the
slogan ever.
But it works. It doesn't matter that it's dumb, because it's like, you know, they punched it through, and like it, or
But
maybe they think it'll work.
this is the comedic factor to all of this is you see these people that not too long ago said Canadian flags represented Nazi flags. And now they're back at it. They're waving the Canadian flag. They're all elbows up, Team Canada. But yet half the population in Canada just got ostracized and labeled misogynists and small fringe minority and racists and all of everything under the sun. But then you've got the Liberal Party riding that exact wave where they're like, we want all of the same stuff that you guys want, but we're just better than you with our 10 years of education that we've never seen the real world. We've all sat in schools and got our degrees, and we know better because our book tells you this. Well, I live in the real world. I know what it's like to put a shovel to the ground, and I'll damn near tell you every time a conservative leadership is in power, Canada is a lot more prosperous when it comes to projects, when it comes to revenue, when it comes to gross domestic product. They're all claiming, oh, the most oil revenues we ever received was under Justin. Well, that's because for 20 years or for 15 years, I was drilling the wells along with thousands of other Albertans where we had like rigs galore all over Alberta, and we were punching holes left and right under a conservative government. And then Justin gets in and claims all the rewards of all the hard work that happened. Well, there was some restructuring in the Conservative Party when Harper started to go a little sideways on us, and we made the changes as conservatives. We were like, no, we're not going to vote for you. Those policies are wrong. We don't agree. Justin come in, rooting and rawing, and now we have what we have. But you also have 10 years of a conservative government that's been changing who they are internally. And now I think they've made enough change now that it, for us, the hope that we want that, okay, maybe the government system isn't as corrupted as we think it is, and maybe those changes have been made, but we won't know until we get that position, that foundation laid. We've got to lay the cement first before
I think you're going to see. I give it 6 months. Like
Exactly.
like I'm not telling people how to vote. I don't. This is just like I don't tell you what to do with your body. I'm just one of those things. It's one of those things for me. But we know that even if you compare, if I got my concerns about Pierre Poilievre, I have a ton of concerns about Mark Carney. He's open that he's a globalist, he's an elitist, he's a central banker. He sees these as assets as far as what we're going through right now, right? So I think that you're right in some ways, but I think that the Canadian people are very tenuous in regards to how long they will stand behind Poilievre. They want to change, but I think you're going to see at the 6 month mark if we don't see what we're looking for. That's if they win.
110%, Chris. And that's my thing. If you thought the convoy for Justin was big, that's what I'm saying. You're going to see something even bigger within 6 months to a year, because then you'll have both sides of the bird flapping at the same time.
Exactly.
And you're going to see it. You're going to have both left and the right that are going to be, hey, shit needs to change, man.
Yeah.
And if anything, and for our track record, and well, you know what? I'll speak on my own track record. My own track record of how hard I went at Justin, I will go 10 times harder against Pierre. And that's a promise, because I will not let this go by anymore. We don't have enough time on the playbook. When it comes to 2030, there's going to be a huge difference in Canada. If we don't make these changes now, we will not recognize this place.
Yeah. And I think it's one of those things where you have, because a lot of the things the Liberals did, it's no different than when Bush was in power. When Obama took over, a lot of the things that people didn't like about Bush, Obama took the tools and did not change things. He did not put things back. And people don't realize in Canada, I think a lot of the reasons we haven't seen protests is because Chrystia Freeland took some of the financial tools as far as freezing bank accounts and other things and made them more on the permanent side, right? So there's a chilling effect there, right? So I've been sitting back wondering, okay, we see this, and this. But people in Canada aren't doing what they're doing in Ireland or a lot of places around Europe, because I think they're fearful, rightfully so, as far as, okay, what is going to happen? And so with these tools at play, you're going to have the other side, the left, very angry. You're going to have, they're going to be guided by the MSM or whatever as far as why Poilievre's bad, and they're going to react the way that they're told to react. But with the tools that Poilievre has at his disposal, it'll be interesting to see if he uses them or if he pulls them back, if he codifies or gives more teeth. I honestly, we have so many things that we need reform at, and I think unfortunately he's going to have to spend a big portion of his first, if he's elected, it's the economy. so much has been done to the economy that people in Canada don't want to look at right now. You go shopping, doesn't matter where, they printed so much money. They borrowed. We now pay more.
I mean, and he's going to have to deal with Trump too, and even just negotiating and like coming to a good negotiation with Trump. He could make the best deal in the whole wide world, and Canadian liberal media will lose their panties over it.
They won't exist if they win, though, Kyle.
Yes, they will.
I don't think that he's gonna.
Global news isn't going anywhere.
No.
CTV is not going anywhere.
No,
I think they will. CBC is not going anywhere tomorrow.
Well, we can hope.
Wednesday.
We can hope.
Well, that's the difference between here and the States, right? The States has Fox News. I'm not a big fan of Fox. Like, again, I'm not a fan of anyone 100%, right? I always pull back and be, okay, Fox is good on some fronts, but we don't even have that up here. I think the closest thing we have is Rebel News. I'll give them credit on some things, but I am not happy with other things at the same time. Yeah, we've got nothing but left-wing media, right? Or far left media now that's taken their marching orders. And why wouldn't they? They're getting $600 million. How much did Carney promise? 150 million or 1.5 billion or something to CBC if he gets elected? What better? Like, that should be illegal at the same time. Give me good coverage, and if I get elected, I'll give you guys all a massive bonus. But what I'd like to see is to have some rich entrepreneur start up another media company here and be able to get it playing, so at least you can have some kind of objectivity. I don't want a right-wing media here. We need something to counterbalance, but I'd love to see some objectivity return to journalism in some way so that people can rely on the content. Because as Kyle was saying earlier, if you're not an X, you're not getting that information. You're in a bubble that's been created by these people, and breaking out of it is going to be very, very difficult without having some kind of a counter narrative or something that the people on that side can say, oh, okay, this news network is actually giving different story, to kind of expose that and break the bubble. And any way we can break that bubble that we've got over this country is needed. So I'll take a right wing as opposed to a center, right? But
perfect segue into this. Here's something, and like I said, Pierre's saying all of these talking points. Let's hold him to him. Play this one. This is Pierre openly talking about the media.
Sir, here, take the microphone so I can hear the gentleman.
Oh, thank you. Mr. Polyev, you said something very interesting and to me.
Yes.
You twice mentioned anti-Semitic riots. Now, I do remember that in the 30s, there was a very large anti-Semitic riot led by Nazis during the growth of the Nazis, and it was in downtown Toronto. I don't see, or I haven't seen, maybe I missed it, where and when the anti-Semitic riots of recent time have happened. Do you remember the places or the dates or times when these anti-Semitic riots that you mentioned?
Yes, I can. I'm happy to. Downtown Vancouver, they had a miniature riot right outside a coffee shop where I was speaking, targeting me because I've been a defender of the Jewish people. They've happened in downtown Toronto. In Montreal in the late fall, there was an absolute monstrous mob going around smashing windows, lighting fires, and doing Hail Hitler symbols. We've had Jewish daycares attacked. We've had Jewish schools that had bullets fly through their windows in the middle of the night. We've had synagogues firebombed. Well, I just gave you a bunch of examples, sir. And no, I don't.
Right here.
I don't control the newspapers. I don't control the newspapers, sir, and I don't intend to. I don't want to live in a country where politicians control the newspapers. I believe in freedom of speech. Good answer.
Wow. Right, and that's this. And I know I interrupt with the video, but there's a perfect example where you talk about the media and how they're manipulated. And all. This man is saying, I don't want control over that. I want the freedom of speech. I want to repeal Bill C-63 and allow our media to be shared. We need these types of politicians that are going to say this, just like John F. Kennedy. John F. Kennedy said it the biggest when he said it right in front of the whatever it is, the Congress or the Speaker of the House or whatever, when he was being sworn in Washington. And he said, there is no way the government can ever have a handle of your media, and it then turns into propaganda. Well, here's another instance where Pierre's kind of spitting out the same facts. So in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, this guy's preaching the preach. He's talking the talk. This has to be an opportunity where we can actually pull up these videos in real time. We can pull up these speeches in real time and say, you didn't do this, you didn't do this, you didn't do this, you didn't do this. Well, guess what? Now it's time for us, the people. We're not going to listen to you. And this is coming from the right. Obviously, the left's going to be pissed, right? They're going to be mad. They're going to be like, well, we didn't get our elector in. We didn't get Carney in.
They're going to be pissed right at the gate.
Right. So we've got that multiple army of now. Now everybody's thinking with the same head. Now we're all looking at shit. This needs to be fixed. Why not give us that opportunity? And to the people out there that are saying, oh, PPC this, PPC that, oh, block NDP, all of that. No, guys. You have a golden egg in your hand right now that you can prove that this system is corrupted beyond corrupt.
True. I mean, that's one part of it, right? I think after this, when you see what happened with Scheer, what happened with O'Toole, and if Poilievre does the same thing, if he wins, you got to start looking at CPCHQ. It doesn't really matter who's put out. There's an agenda. You can say whatever you want during the campaigns, but if you don't deliver, we got to hold these people accountable in a legal way, right? And I'm not saying I'm a total against violence, but I'm just saying that we have to be able to voice our opinions. And I think if that happens, like you say, standing up a bunch, everybody angry at the same person from both sides of the fence. I hope that doesn't happen. Again, I'm not. I'm cautiously hope for the best, plan for the worst kind of guy. Right. Like I don't want to part of me as someone who carried the charter around my whole life as an advocate kind of thing. And, with what happened I became a little bit cynical with regards to what happened 5 years ago. And there's no acknowledgements. There's certain things I would have liked for him to touch. I would like to see the shot stopped. But, again, I also understand the game very well. I don't necessarily agree with the argument. I think if the media is going to frame it in a certain way, get out there, handle the media like Trump does, be far more, what they're going to do. The game. So have a script. Don't come across as a dick. Mock them, right? But still stand up for your principles and the Canadian people, in a way that can be done articulately.
Yeah, and the actual Canadian people will appreciate that too. They want just being honest.
Authenticity.
Exactly.
Humility.
One of the things though is Pierre, he's still just the leader of the party though. This is one of the issues is he might be really he's not the president. He doesn't have executive order signing capacity. Yeah. It's the party, and Canada is ruled by parties. It's we the party, not we the people. So that's why
sadly,
how do we get more influence into the party? And I hope, I don't know. I know that I have zero access or zero anything to Uncle Mark and company. But I know with Pierre, around the crypto community, he's a Bitcoiner. He's been very open. He's not talking at all about it because he's running a very, safe campaign, let's say.
Very safe.
Yeah. Very safe. And Canadians love safety, as we've seen this last 10 years. So,
if I could give Pierre one suggestion, something that he should have did more, like you said, Chris and Kyle, Canadians like their safety, right? He's running a safe campaign, very safe campaign. Had he just spoke like one of the constituents that he claims he represents and spoke to that 10 million voters that don't vote and spoke to them in the way that we understand, the way that, hey, look we understand it, and he drove it that way, you would see that sweep like there was no tomorrow. And that's the one thing that Pierre missed out. And every time I got my emails, what can Pierre do better? That's one of my talking points was speak to the people. Stop speaking to the little 2% of the NDP voters or the little 5% of the Liberal voters that you're trying to capture. Speak to the ones who aren't voting. There's a reason. I see Nikki in the comments saying, find me one politician that's ever been held accountable. Exactly. There isn't. So why not speak to the people who know that and say, it's time we start filing, paperwork, documentation, and firing these guys for what's going on. And you would have saw a better response from a lot of other people. But as for Carney's playing on crisis. Because that boomer generation, They only know crisis. H1N1, ozone layer, the polar ice caps are melting, no CFCs anymore. You can't get your styrofoam package and McDonald's package anymore because it's been crisis. And
perpetual state of anxiety.
100%, yeah.
And then anything is like a release, right? They're like, oh, okay, then elbows up. I feel better about doing that, right? And they feel like they're a part of something. And it's sad because a lot of the, like I give boomers at certain kinds. I don't even like using the phrases and stuff, right? Like but people understand when I'm talking about boomers. It's sad because a lot of them helped build the country. A lot of them had, they've contributed. But the sad part is that system where they're unaware that they're being manipulated. The media is honestly, it's like military grade psyop mind control as far as how quickly. It's kind of horrifying when you can see this is the new thing and how many people go follow that line, right? And during COVID, I was worried about the government. Yeah, I was also upset that I couldn't get a Grand Slam breakfast from Denny's without being experimented on, so I went without a Grand Slam for a while. But it's sad to see that we get to this point now where so many disenfranchised, so many people are disillusioned. And for someone like me, like I said, I voted my whole life. I have believed in the systems. Are they perfect? No. When I was working, a lot of people should have been arrested for the stuff they were doing, misappropriation of funds, fraud, all these other things. But I was always told that the integrity of the system, the public perception of the integrity of the system was the number one thing, was the constant thing I got as far as, are you okay? They're going to slither off. They're going to retire for family reasons, or you know what I mean? They're going to leave their positions for family reasons, but the game kept perpetuating. And so when I got up to the macro level, if it wasn't for what happened in the pandemic, I was dead against social media. I was never on social media. So I come from micro level, and I can see a lot of this, a lot of nepotism, conflicts of interest, the inside club. I've drank out of the $1,000 whiskey bottles in the basements, wondering, okay, you're from a different party. Why are you here? These games that go on behind the scenes, because no one wants to lose power. No one wants to give up their pension. They have these behind the scenes. It's municipal and provincial as well. Don't get me wrong. But when I went up to 30,000 feet and I'm sitting there going, wow, guys, we've allowed this to go so far off the rails, trusting people that do not deserve to be trusted. It's got to be earned. And I think the politicians have kind of let it go to their heads in a sense, right? It's like nobody's paying attention, and we can stay focused on what the Liberals have done, backed up by the NDP over the last 10 years. But the further back you go, a lot of it is a game that's being played at our expense. And what pisses me off the most is at the expense of the generations that aren't even here yet. Like, we've got a lot of work to do in this country. And I think that so much division, so much polarization, there's going to be a breaking point unless you take some of the pressure off. And that's why I say, again, I think a lot of reform needs to happen, but a conservative win tomorrow can at least take the pressure off of people that have been looking at what's been happening for at least the last 5 years and start to heal a little bit, start to recharge, have a good moment, party for a little while. Not for too long, though. You got to get back on the horse and ride, because we got a lot of fighting to go over the next 5 years. But for me, what I take away from it is, if that happens, I will still be happy knowing that there's a lot of work to do, but I want to see Canadians have a chance to celebrate, heal, and then get back on that horse and continue to work for this generation's, the ones that are still here and the ones that are yet to come. So I don't want to give up hope on my country, but we're heading down a dark path, that's for sure.
100%. But there's also that, that reluctance in people that I'm so fearful of, because we have been able to prove more corruption day in and day out.
Nothing happens.
Carney coming in.
Chat about something here, guys. It's okay.
Yeah, go for it.
I've been sitting back here and just wondering if I should put up my hand or just butt in.
What's your nickname for Pierre, Jamie?
I don't have a nickname for him.
I know.
But what I can say is,
he's my choice.
Honestly, guys, I don't look at this as a fucking joke. Okay? This isn't a game. This is actually pretty serious. Yes. Right? Everybody might pretend like this is giggle time and yada yada yada, but at the end of the day, we've just wasted 10 years of our fucking lives with bullshit.
Okay? Taken from us.
Any more of my time. I've already invested lots of money in other countries, and after this election, I'm in Canada. If this doesn't work out properly the way it should be with what we call democracy, see you later. I'm out. Selling everything, gone, bye. Fucking, I don't care.
Yeah.
Right. And I want to say other things, but I don't want to scare away people either, because right now I want to speak to the people that don't vote. Because honestly, I'm a non-voter. I'm a person that doesn't believe in the government, doesn't believe in the vote, doesn't believe in the system, doesn't believe in politicians, doesn't believe in member of parliament, doesn't believe in any of this crap. Okay, I'm so fed up with it. Even coming onto this live and having a conversation about it is frustrating. But what I can say is this: there's a lot of things that I've been observing and watching for the past 4 years because I haven't been on really a live at all. I used to do lives all the time, but I haven't because I got my, like Pat, I got suspended and, I didn't go to jail and all this other shit. But I was censored and had my Facebook taken down and had all my music removed from Canada because, freedom of expression isn't a fucking thing anymore in Canada, right? You can go to jail for it.
Yep.
Okay. You can go to jail for protesting. You can have your fucking bank account frozen. And I won't forget the last 8 years of what happened. But what I can say is this: even with Pierre, do I trust the guy? You know what? I've been watching him meticulously over the last, 7 years. There's some things that I don't agree with, but there's a lot of things that I do, right? There's a lot of things that I can say, you know what? This is starting to make a little bit of sense. And it's interesting because I too have seen the Conservative Party, start adopting and talking things that you would think would only be spoken by the PPC, by the People's Party. Pierre's even starting to adopt some of these things, maybe not so aggressively, but in his own Pierre Poilievre way. He's trying to, make people happy, et cetera, et cetera. But what I want to say something, you guys, is I want to speak to that non-voter because these are the people that really believe that, our vote doesn't count. I guess we're going to find out. But I do remember this. I remember Pierre Poilievre coming outside and standing with the people at the Freedom Convoy. I don't remember any of the other people. Okay. That to me was a big gesture of like how authentic, and he cares. I can see when that guy's talking, I can see either he's the best fucking actor in the world or I believe he's genuine. I believe Pierre Poilievre. I've watched him back in 2016 before the Freedom Convoy, before United We Roll. I wrote him a long-winded letter about some of my concerns. He actually replied with a heartfelt response. This is before Pierre Poilievre was Pierre Poilievre. I've seen him relentlessly fighting in the House of Commons day after day, year after year. Is he a liar? Is he manipulating? You guys, I don't know. Is he a globalist? I don't know. He's been saying he's not supporting the World Economic Forum. Here, let's go over some of the other things. He wants to put fentanyl dealers and all this super lab bullshit in fucking people in jail for life. That's a huge thing for me. Coming from a person that used to struggle with alcohol and all this other shit, I'm celebrating 11 years sobriety. I only wish I would have the opportunity of a leader to disarm my battle, right?
Yeah.
The problem with so much of this in Canada is there's no consequences, right? You have
100%.
all of this chaos happening with no consequences, even for the leaders and the government. You got Pierre Poilievre openly stating that the immigration system's broken, that they're not properly vetting the immigrants that are coming to Canada because they don't actually look at their criminal record. He wants to fix this stuff. He wants to openly ban people from the World Economic Forum. And I'm sure, we could go on. And you know what? There's things that I don't agree with. Like, I want him to be hard on this Paris Accord. I'm sure with time, as we've started to see the Conservative Party adopting more and more of these people's parties' ideologies, I think more and more things are going to happen. Would I like to see Pierre Poilievre be the Prime Minister of Canada? Absolutely. Whoever you vote for is up to you. But I can tell you this: if I could suggest for him to one thing that would really, you want to really bring this fucking thing home? You really want to bring this home? How about this? Announce tonight at your next rally that you're going to launch criminal forensic investigations and audits into every single Liberal member of Parliament since Trudeau got elected. You want to really move the fucking needle? Let's really roll up our sleeves and quit talking politics and get down to business. Audit every fucking one of them. Then you want to take it a step further. Every single person, corporate identity, business, media company, everybody that was involved in this scandemic as well should all be forensically audited, all have criminal investigations launched against them, and all have their passports taken. Never mind frozen your bank account, your passport surrendered. Goodbye until this is all settled. Because you know what? This election, yeah, you know what? It means something. But in my opinion, the morale of Canada, the morale, the glue, the love, the passion, the drive, the fire that gets people up in the morning is completely desecrated because everyone has been systemically abused and is living with trauma. And if they don't understand that, they're just in fucking denial. Okay. My grandmother died alone in a hospital. My brother, I would say, the reality is everybody was affected immensely by this bullshit lie and this scam. And until the people are arrested, charged, and convicted and serve time in prison, nothing will change. Not Pierre Poilievre getting elected, not Mark Carney, or any of this bullshit. So that's what I've had to say for tonight. And I appreciate you guys letting me have this little micro rant. But if I could,
that was awesome.
I would let it rip.
That's the old Jamie. That's the old Jamie. That's the Jamie that likes the sport.
Away any person that is in neutral. But at this point, if you're in neutral and you're not in forward or reverse, your mind, you're thinking about what fucking happened. You know, in your heart, in your mind, something is wrong. Something is a little bit off, and you know it, and I know it. We were all lied to. We were all manipulated, and that's the bottom line. And anybody that wants to sit there and argue that, well, you're going to be arguing with yourself for a very long time, but I guarantee you the end result is you were fucking duped.
Yeah.
Well said, man.
And I love everybody. I'm not a fighter type of guy. I don't like conflict, but there comes a point in time when it's like, we got to look, like Mark Carney said, look within yourself. You fucking retard. I mean, sorry, libtard.
It's true, though. You got to have that difficult conversation in the mirror with yourself. Every one of us probably on here has had that moment.
Sorry.
Right?
But this is just.
Well, and
Kyle, did you vote yet?
No.
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 You're in Florida, right? Are you in Florida?
No, you guys okay?
It's very
Do we want to bring it back down to a 2, or can we get serious?
Oh, let's go. Let's go. Let's go, Jamie.
Yeah, I mean, and one of the things that I feel like with what you said about the accountability, like this is kind of was the impetus of Doge in America. It's like, man, we got a mess.
Yeah.
This is a mess.
Yeah.
And the thing is, like, we have records. Just records of all this stuff. Like
100% there is
records. It's like we just need to
open it up.
You need the will to do it.
And why is that such a bad thing? Like the Americans are going out, like the Democrats are going after, the Doge and all that. Why is that a bad thing? Explain that to me. Why is it a bad thing in Canada to get people off drugs and put them into rehabs? Why is it a bad thing in Canada to worry about Canadians first and not worry about everybody else? Or what the fuck?
Let's eliminate the corruption and the wasteful spending within our government. Like just eliminating the waste. It's not talking about adding new things. If we just eliminate the waste, we're going to free up so much and also get rid of so many parasites within the system. And like they're like preconditioning it with all this like hate for Musk, no Doge.
Well, Pierre's talking about less government. Pierre's talking about less government in your bloody pocket. And all of a sudden, Pierre, bad man, orange man, bad mentality. It's like, dude, I want less government in my pocket. The government just lived in our damn houses for 2.5 years during COVID, told you couldn't have grandma in the house, and you guys were out flipping your lids. Now because he wants to pull them out of your pockets too now, you're going to be pissed off? Like, what the fuck, man? The government just told everybody grandma couldn't come over for Christmas. And now everybody's like, less government, less government. And then you got guys on the freedom movement who are like, no Pierre, no Pierre. It's like, wait a minute, guys. This guy's talking about getting the government out of our house again. I like that idea. For me, that's it for me. Now I struggle with Pierre because he could have called this all out while he was a sitting member and the leader of the opposition, and he could have opposed all of these mandates. He went along with it. So there's some things and issues that I have, but Jamie, you said it. He was there at the convoy. I had a video queued up for you to show you. I have his videos when he was at the convoy, and I have his videos of what he's saying.
Think of some of the things we've talked about in the background, Kyle. There's all this anti-America rhetoric, right? And I call it rhetoric because I want to tell you something. Some of the nicest, most salt-of-the-earth people I've ever met in my life from the United States, from Nashville, from Florida, from Texas. And when I hear, it's the same bullshit rhetoric that I hear Canadians diss in Mexico. I live in Mexico. I have a Mexican resident, full status. I love the Mexican people. I love American people. It's like, why is Canada always spreading this hate towards other countries and nations that they pretend they're their number one ally? The bottom line is Canada's really going to have a term of reflection very shortly when Maha and Doge announce there's no income tax in the United States. What are they going to say? They're going to say, oh, those fucking Americans, they think they're so great because they don't pay income tax anymore.
They'll find something. Right.
Jamie, you're getting the Jamie for Prime Minister again. Here we go.
Dude, I'm telling you the truth, Kyle. You know it and I know it. We've had this conversation. And the reality is you can't. It's like this, for example. And I talked about this earlier. You got Trump. He's a business guy. He's taken the Canadian management team to task. They're getting schooled. It's no different than the hockey game. Okay, Team Canada in the U.S. You know what? Is the United States going on and on and on and on about Connor McDavid scoring the winning goal and how those stupid Canadians, they think they're so good at hockey just because they got McJesus on their team and he scored the goal. Guess what? If you don't like the game, don't play the game. But just because you got a good guy on the ice that's scoring fucking goals, change your lineup. Get a new teams. Get different players on the ice so you can actually compete and not a sieve like Mark Carney who professes he's some sort of goaltender from when he was 12. Okay? You need a real goalie in the net.
Yeah, I think most Canadians need to wake up to the fact they're playing a game. They don't know they're involved in a game. Right?
And that's why this is
This is a game. I think there's also a lot of Canadians too, because we have so much American influence in politics, I got a message from a friend being like, man, Pierre Poilievre wasn't even on my ballot. Like, what the fuck?
Oh, you're funny, guy.
He's not alone. I guarantee that guy's he's not alone. That's just the way that our system is.
So Kyle, what is going to happen when the United States goes into this no tax zone? How's that going to reflect on Canada? Well, they've already been talking about canceling their income tax.
Oh yeah, Trump has said it, and this is I'm
it's going to go down, man.
Absolutely, it's I think income tax is on its way out in Canada, in America, and ultimately it's going to be on its way out in Canada as well. It's the only path. It doesn't make sense. It's way too dangerous, especially in an increasing digital surveillance with digital money. It's just a very dangerous tool for authoritarians to have. And frankly, it's a broken system that punishes those who play along with it and who work hard, and it gives unfair advantage to those who know how to manipulate it, or simply don't even buy into it, in the first place, or like Mark, offshore to the to the Bahamas and to the Isle of Man. Like, you want to talk about tax dodging strategy? Talk to Uncle Mark, man. That guy knows fucking
can only imagine.
In and out. We lost Pat.
Yeah, he said he got booted. He's just messaging me now, so watch him on the back.
Yeah, waiting for him. And
I personally, I look at being a neighbor to the United States as such a huge advantage, like economically, like on so many levels. Like, talk about taking a relationship for granted. Again, I'm a Canadian. I have a lot of American friends, and I can tell you this: people work much, much better when they're working together. And it's just too bad we didn't have a House of Commons that actually worked together.
Diplomacy, what a thought, right?
Yeah.
It benefits the Canadians. I'm going to have to go now, but I just wanted to thank Kyle and Jamie for having me on.
Sure.
With more notice, I can do longer next time, but I'm here. But yeah, I want to encourage everyone to vote, and I'm not telling you how. And at the same time, don't take your eyes off the ball, right? But remember, like, I'm a big fan of wellness, so take care of yourselves, reconnect with nature. This is a long road we're on. Try to have fun. And if you can bake a cheesecake, it's always helpful as well, too. So thanks again, guys. You have a good night. Good night. Goodbye to everybody who's watching. Take care.
Chris.
See ya.
Now, I know, Jamie, you didn't like the jokes, but...
Oh, I like the jokes.
I'm still going to say, because, like, this whole PP thing is, like, kind of getting to me.
Hey,
so
you had a good picture of PP. Where is that one?
Pierre is my choice. Pimp. Like, are you, like, you pimping? Do you vote for the pimp? Like, because his middle name is Marcel, too. So it's PMP, which is way stronger than just PP. Like, just beware. Like, that, like, that one is, like, I am branding and naming are things that I put a lot of focus on. And, like, the remedy is Kennedy. Like, that was like, even make Earth game great again, let's make America healthy again.
You see, that was a pretty big thing too, watching that whole thing come together. That was beautiful, man. You're a big part of that, Kyle.
I played a role.
No, you did. Remember, we were in Florida and spray painting the bus and having some fun.
Oh man, yeah, it's been.
There you are, Pat.
Can't hear you, Pat.
No sound.
Kyle, what does your bro think about you hanging out with Pat? I don't think he knows I'm hanging out with Pat.
There we go.
I don't really care what he thinks about Pat. I wish he'd come.
You see that question there, Pat?
Yeah, I just saw it. That's kind of funny. Yeah. Guys, something that you guys, this is kind of why it was kind of nice to have this conversation with Kyle on the eve of the election. If a lot of you remember, Kyle and I had an interview. I think there was 2 interviews we did during the convoy, and one of them actually garnered a lot of attention when you started speaking about your brother and things that could cause him to be compromised. And then I go to jail, and everything gets dismantled and all that. Not saying that's your fault or whatever, but we had this conversation, and now here we are, almost 3.5 years later, and this is where we've come, Kyle. From where we first met to now. Like, would you have thought that this was going to happen? Me? Not a chance. I figured I was protected under a charter. I figured that my rights in Canada to protest and express my freedom of expression would have been protected. But unfortunately, it's not. Now here we are going into the same synopsis, I guess, if you say, only just it's like not your brother anymore. Now it's Uncle Mark, right? Like, it's how can people really see the same movie but see a different part of the movie? When I explain
and notice how Justin has just disappeared too. Like,
yeah,
he's done, and that just showed we're in a this Matrix Truman show, and his character was just killed and removed, and like now it's like, don't even mention him. Like, polling has shown, like, if they see his face, we're going to fall backwards. So let's just run really heavy. We're gonna get Mike Myers in here, Austin Powers. We're gonna use this elbows up statement. Basic. And we're gonna use a term like Canada strong. That's like, it's just really generic, and we're gonna continue to talk in platitudes. But they've got, like, that really strong media team, and then it's like, man, you give me an escort of 15 cars, security detail, and cameras, I will dress up a homeless man and give that guy that escort. He'll be able to enter any restaurant, anywhere, shake hands with everybody, and everyone will be extremely excited to be meeting him. And that's literally what Mark did on these tours, is like, he's going and meeting people. People don't actually know who he is, but when you come in with that energy of like, what is going on here?
Like a celebrity feeling.
Elbows up, like elbows up, put your elbows up. Let's go. And I was also like, because elbows up was also like, that
during the COVID.
I'm afraid.
Well, that's what I said today. I was saying, like, they're playing on that crisis, and now what are they doing? They're they're like psychologically using the trauma from that crisis when we had to shake with elbows, right? Like, it's, hey, we're all doing the dance in the hospital again. All the nurses are doing the dance in the hospital again. Now all these people are all rubbing elbows again. And it's just like, there's so many different metaphors to that slogan. To me, it's like dirty hockey. Remind me, Gordie Howe. Gordie Howe was known as Mr. Elbow for the dirty moves he would pull. He'd jump in the boards and he'd take you out with his elbow. He'd break your jaw with your elbow. It's a dirty tactic in hockey. In boxing, you hold your elbows up because you're getting the shit kicked out of you and you're turtled in the corner. You're getting beat down.
Yeah, you put your elbows up when the cops are telling you
I'm under arrest. Yeah. And all these liberals are
thinking you're drowning in water.
But that's what I mean. They're using something that is, they have been manipulating something in the thought processes of people that I really think it's something that should be studied. Liberalism. It should actually be a psychological study on how these people, I'm not kidding. It should be. Some kid, if you're listening and you're taking psychology in university right now and you need something to do your thesis on, please go and study liberalism. We need to understand how this is.
This is this neoliberalism too, which it's like, this is not the classical like liberals. This is this new form of this neo.
Yeah,
I almost call it the nouveau Nazis, but that's a little bit too triggering. But it's
true.
It's crazy.
The amount of projection, and it's like, the party of tolerance, but they're completely intolerant. They're anti-hate, but they're the most hateful.
Yes, yeah.
The painting of everybody as just the Nazi
anti-fascist, yet they're the fascists.
Exactly.
And it's reverse psychology, and I've watched it play out for so long, and I haven't seen Antifa back in my town here in Red Deer since we punched them out. As soon as we punched them out, that was it. And that's a lot of this needs to happen. And I'm not one for violence. I get aggressive, yeah, but just a few. Like Jamie, you said, politicians in Mexico, they all toe the good line because they might wind up on an overpass and on the front page of the Mexican news if they're caught being dirty.
Well, the thing is
a couple punches in the face of a few corrupted politicians might fix things.
I'm going to show you guys something that's just incredible. If I can find it here, just keep talking.
Well, my biggest thing is in all of this, guys, and this is why I asked to have this opportunity. So to the people that are watching, the reason I wanted this opportunity with Kyle and Jamie was to bring this back together from what we've been, where we've been, and to where we've come now, and to see this all play out in front of us, guys. for me, there's an opportunity in this, and I'll speak openly. There's an opportunity of having my charges absolved. If Pierre says he's going to be that guy that's going to change it, he has the ability to absolve my charges, and that's something I'll hold Pierre, because he said he supported all of it.
And hopefully he also absolves the charges for Tamara and Chris and James and and everybody else.
The Coots guys as well, all of that.
Everybody else that was that was persecuted, and as well the nurses and the doctors and the police officers,
right?
That dissented, everyone, there's a lot of people that showed a lot of integrity and stood by their values and their heart and in the light, and ended up paying the price at the hands of these tiny tyrants over the last little bit. So I certainly hope that and will continue to fight for and make that case for that. And this is something that's this is what Trump did with those J6ers, and also and then looked in as well to damn it, there was a stat at the FBI that it was crazy. It was more than 70% of the work going on at the FBI was investigating January 6th. All the people, and more than just investigating, it was probably propping it all up. So, and I know the amount of money that the courts spent on you alone and on Tamara and on all the cats.
And that's exactly it. They want to appeal my case now. So they filed for an appeal. If Carney gets in, he's going to allocate that money. It's hell, the guy's about to print off another $130 billion of stimulus package to elbows up Canada. This guy is going to try and have my case retried again, so that it's illegal to protest in Canada. And not only that, you get 10 years. This, guys, ladies and gentlemen, for me, vote this opportunity to get out there and help us with Pierre, for the sake of all of us that went to battle for everybody and that got persecuted, prosecuted, and basically raked over the coals of down Wellington Street, held in shackles for months and months on end. This is an opportunity that we can hopefully utilize this to bring some justice to everybody that has been wronged for standing up for our rights in Canada. And Carney's going to try to appeal it all. I know he is, because he was also involved with freezing the friggin' bank accounts.
I mean, that was his one of his workings. Well, along with the whole thing, this, it's all, I feel like it's all kind of a stage.
I want to share with you something, Pat, a little more into the Mexico thing. If you could share my screen, I want to show you guys something. This is from the Mexico immigration website. This is where you go apply for residency status or a visa. Check this out. This is, if you look here, this is what you have to apply for if you want to come and visit Mexico. However, if you look here at the bottom.
Can you zoom in, Jay?
Yeah, it's pretty small.
Yes, I can. Let me just.
There you go.
Oh, here we go. There we go, guys. Sorry. Is that a little better?
Yeah.
I'll see if I can get it. No, that's the best. So individuals with permanent residence in Canada, and the US, Japan, UK, all these places are part of the Pacific Alliance. They're exempt from not requiring to get an advanced permission visa, meaning that anybody from any of these other countries, which I'm going to show you the list, okay? You like to go holidaying? All of these countries on this list are not allowed to go to Mexico unless they get advanced permission from a Mexican consulate and apply in person to get one of these visas. This is a lot of countries, and I'll share this with you guys. This is important. Even if, right here, remember, even if you're granted a Mexican visa, this visa does not guarantee you entry to the country. At the point of entry, a Mexican immigration authority may interview you and confirm your reason of travel and ship your ass home. That's just a visit. Now, let me alliterate a little bit further on this. From my contacts, and I have some friends down there, let me tell you, they're concerned with the amount, and this is the term. Are you ready? Fake Canadians. This is their concern because we've influxed our immigration system so many times. It's very easy to tell that a lot of people that all of a sudden have these Canadian passports, oh, that's not what we're used. That guy doesn't even speak English. You see? So we better be very careful with our immigration system. And for those that think it's, racist or any of this bullshit, well, there's a lot of countries in the world that protect their sovereignty, protect their borders. Yes, from countries like China, right here. You can go to the immigration website and look at this. Even Ukraine is on here, right here. Okay. Russia. Where's Russia?
Vatican City is on there. Damn it, Jamie. I mean, it's like so Canada's not, though.
Yeah, but
it might be.
Might be.
So Canadians, if things go sideways tomorrow, if you want to cruise down to Mexico, Canadians are welcome to Mexico as it stands right now.
For now.
And if you want it, I know other people that are considering fallout scenarios of what happens if Carney wins, including some serious wealth in the Ontario zone. And I'm suggesting you should just move. You should just move to Alberta and take the wealth and take the money and all just let's just form over there and
set up a mini Texas.
Start getting strong and declaring independence and forming a sovereign nation
Quebec
of Alberta. Well, more than Quebec though as well, because
100%.
That might be why Donald Trump is endorsing Carney too, is because he knows that is probably the fastest way towards the ultimate North American super union strategy underneath an American banner that's independent of the Bank of England, and those old globalist architects, if you will.
Well, I can tell you the feeling and the sentiment in Alberta right now is they don't give a shit if Carney gets in. If Carney does get in, it's going to push even harder that independence from the federal government, and you're gonna see a lot of what you used to see when Quebec was trying to separate. You're going to see Alberta absolutely cut it off. I have a feeling. I know that Alberta's sentiment towards the east, and I mean east, I'm talking Ottawa, that in itself has been a plague on Alberta's economy, on Alberta's culture, on Alberta, period. And it's a direct attack against Canada from my perspective, is because Alberta has taken in all of Canada. Because people leave their cities, their provinces to come work in the industries out here and make a life for themselves because it's too hard back home. It's difficult. So they come out here and you've got all of Canada here. So now what you've got is all of Canada getting attacked left and right by the east, by Ottawa. And we've had enough. So there is going to be a huge turnout for this independence from the federal government. Now, everybody goes 51st state. It has nothing to do with the 51st state. We have the ability here in Alberta to cut the federal, coffer out of our pockets. We can actually be independently run without having to leave Canada. We just have to tell the government, we don't want your handouts. We don't need you.
I honestly would like to really have the federal government make the case for the need of the federal government. Really, why do we need you? As opposed to strong provinces, what is the real value add that you're providing? I would like them to make that strong argument, because honestly, I think they usurp too much power from the provinces, and the provinces could work better, working directly amongst each other, and leading to a far more kind of prosperous Canada. I'm not so clear as to what the real value of that. I know that in Alberta as well, on the crypto side, I've heard there's something 5 terawatts worth of crypto miners, being deployed over the next little bit there. They're saying,
oh yeah,
we love Bitcoin. We want to mine Bitcoin. We have so much energy. Let's do it. I talked to somebody in Ottawa who's working around in the energy area, and there's no new energy development. The amount of power is like capped. It's not going up. You're not getting more energy for your new developments. They're like capping it. They do not want to expand, and it's fucking crazy because we need energy. We can make tons of energy if we recognize energy. Let's be an energy superpower. Canada can mine so much fucking Bitcoin and secure the networks. We don't need to buy it. Let's start building up a reserve. Let's set up our strategic Bitcoin reserve. Let's enforce the network. Let's earn off the network. Let's utilize our power. Let's run the data centers. Let's run the AI centers. Let's embrace what we have and encourage investment in innovation.
And we have the cold weather.
And we have lots of renewable, awesome energy. And we have tons of land. And we have great nature. And we have space.
Just need a couple oil refineries.
That's something else that pissed me off is, Yves Francois Blanchette, he says in the debate, he says, why are we worried about a pipeline east across Canada? It ain't going to cross in Quebec. And by the time the pipeline's done, Donald Trump will be 90 years old. It never was about Donald Trump. It's about building Canadian for Canada. And when you got that line going across, then you've got the ability to put a kickoff line to your refinery in your province. And then your province has the ability to stockpile reserves so that you can sell it off to market and bring money in and funds in for your infrastructure. Or you can keep your reserves high, which keeps your cost of fuel low for your citizens.
You know what it's called, Pat?
What's that?
Working.
Yeah. And a lot of people are afraid of working.
Working.
I know, man. I know.
Well, and then there's another kind of meta in play as well, which is with Mark Carney, he represents, the antithesis of Trump and this like duality. So he's kind of coming on the scene right now after Trump just got elected again. Now, if they can get Carney in, he can become the North American resistor to Trump's fascism, as they'll say, and cutting deals with Europe and bringing in the CBDC and rejigging the carbon schemes so we don't have to give out those pesky rebate checks anymore. We'll just keep all the money.
Well, that's just it. He's all about his shareholders, right? All about Brookfield Asset Management, largest infrastructure asset management company in the world. And I just talked about this the other night on my show. Is BGIS had no experience in the oil and gas industry, and BGIS bid for the projects for the orphan wells here in Alberta, all the abandonment wells that our companies have no longer exist anymore. But due to regulations, we have to abandon these wells when they're zero depleted, there's zero resources coming out. BGIS got over their heads. They had no idea what they were doing. They ended up having to subcontract out of their pocketbook to third-party contractors to come in and shut these wells in. So then what's happened when they got basically over their head in it is Brookfield Asset Management came in and bought out BGIS so that they can take over. The same thing Carney's going to do. He is going to make sure that every company under Brookfield Asset Management is on every government vendors list. And when it comes time to bidding, he is going to make sure that his company will underbid people and get those government contracts, and the money will go from your taxpaying dollars into Carney's shareholders' pockets. And this is, I don't understand. I'm not the most educated person. Yes, I do have a university degree, but I can see apples to apples very easy. And I can see Carney's eyes are dollar signs, dollar signs, dollar signs. Not only are you the chief financial officer of Brookfield or chief executive officer, now you're the policy maker. Now you're the rule maker. Like, people don't see that. And to to me, it's like
You know,
it's
I
the
want
biggest
to,
scam.
you know, Pat, I never really got to say much about what happened to you. I want to just switch up a little bit and just talk about what happened to you. The last time I really got to say something about Pat King was at the fundraiser when I came up and played a few songs for you and helped raise a little bit of money for your court.
Mm-hmm.
And I got to say this, Pat, you know, and I'm not, I don't have anything wrote down here, but I'm just going to speak just right from the heart. You know what, Pat? I feel absolutely terrible at witnessing, seeing, understanding, watching, and learning all the bullshit that you had to go through in this so-called free country. I got to see what you went through behind the scenes, the levels of corruption between the courts, between there was so many things that I watched is one of the reasons I was fearful and left Canada. Because when you weaponize the not only the media, but you weaponize the courts against an average person. Pat, you are just an average Canadian guy, right? You're not an extremist. You're not a radical Islamist terrorist. You're not any of these things that these people tried to paint you a picture of. And I feel so terrible for what you had to endure behind the scenes with your family, with your mom, with your kids, walking down the street, trying to get a job, can't even get a fucking bank account. You know, and I just want to say, you know, I don't even want to use the word thank you because that's an insult to what you had to endure. But I feel so embarrassed that this happened to an average, everyday, ordinary Canadian in a so called G7 country that has a charter and all this bullshit lies, right? You, my friend, are an absolute victim. I feel you should be given some type of award, a real award, and vindicated for what's happened to you. Not only vindicated, but compensated for what was done to you. And I don't care what anybody says. I know that you're a good person with a good heart. I know you have good intentions. I know you speak off the cuff. And you know what, Pat? That's why people watched your Facebook Live. You were put in jail because you had a following, because people were watching your live, because for the first time, Canadians had a voice. And you were that voice, Pat. I hate to say it. It wasn't Tamara and Chris and all these other people. People were watching Pat King's live. There was hundreds of thousands of people watching those lives. I talked to people from all around the world. Yes, they were jostling back and forth, but the concentration of what happened, in my opinion, you were just persecuted for having a loud voice and a big following. And you embarrassed the shit out of the government. And that was an ego trip. And now here you are going back in court. You just got your bank account unfrozen, correct? Just.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, you know, Pat, you're a good guy. And I really hope that at some point you'll be able to move.
You left something out there, though. We got the account back, but they took everything.
Well,
they took everything in it.
Getting at is what I hope is in time you will be able to move past this and live a normal life. That's what I hope for you.
Thanks,
because it can't be easy.
Yeah, I mean, I think Jimmy really nailed it too, Pat. I mean, the one that we did, like that live that we did with Sunny, like we had like 30,000 people kind of tune into that.
Yeah, buddy, it was like 38,000 or 42. We were up at 42,000 at one point.
Like it was cooking, And again, and that was like at the time when the whole world was like wanting to know, because like there's the only way we could hear from people was like to get that on the ground. And again, like truth is treason in an empire of lies is that old quote. And I feel like we ran up against that really hard, and it was, you could tell like in that whole show, by the nearing the end of it, it was like all of a sudden the Ukraine thing popped in.
Yeah, it was just instant
all of a sudden it was like truckers. Now it's like all the Justin's up there. Ukraine. Like, we must forever stand by Ukraine against these horrible invaders from Russia. It was like
it was literally tomorrow. It was so instant. They didn't even take a breath.
Overnight.
Call in the security. We're gonna get these people out of Ottawa. We need to deal with Ukraine now. Everybody, put a Ukraine flag in your bio.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, but Pat, I mean, you went through hell. And have been a martyr in the Canadian quest for independence and freedom. And everything was all like, on the record too. And ultimately this story's not over.
And one more thing.
Congratulations on like, the win that wasn't exactly a win, but it was a win. So it's like, well done.
Well, I think the hardest thing too was watching the people that were apparently supposed to be on the freedom, whatever the convoy side, just completely abandon Pat and really railroad him and throw him under the bus all at the same time. And I'm not saying that to like, oh, poor Pat. I'm telling you, that's what happened.
Yeah. We've got the recording. Like Jamie made a phone call to the lawyer that had all the bank accounts unfrozen. And he said, hey, like, we're looking to pay. You did it already. Can we just, we're willing to pay you to unfreeze Pat's accounts. And he said right to Jamie, he says, is this about Pat King's bank accounts? And he says, and Jamie goes, yeah. And he goes, oh, no, we've been ordered by JCCF not to help him out. And I still have that recording. I haven't released it yet, but I have that recording.
JCCF?
There were so many people that you would think were on the side of, freedom, justice, and truth that turned out to be the exact opposite.
Yeah,
it was unfortunate.
It's the way,
it was in fear because Pat was being painted as this evil villain, and there wasn't people that were strong enough. And I can understand they didn't want to be.
That's a white supremacist, obviously,
right?
Oh yeah.
And he's like said these white supremacists. I'm pretty sure there's some clips of him saying some stuff that, like, if you just saw that clip. Like, this guy, I don't want to be seen next to this guy, like,
But not even to know, like, the whole thing of it, buddy, it wasn't anything like what they're painting it out to be. It was actually me in fear of our country talking about what another country was going to do and why. And that's what it was.
And I'm just using that as an example of, like, how they, like, created this, like,
framed it up
by association, this fear, and they're just using fear as this weapon towards, and ultimately, like, you end up paying, like, the greatest price, because while you're also, like, the biggest threat in your voice, you're also the greatest example that could be made. And following that, like, there was no celebration about what happened in Ottawa. It was, oh fuck, like, everyone's scrambling, our bank accounts are frozen, our livelihood's going to be torn down. Like, did we make a huge mistake doing that? You hear what's happening at Pat, you hear what's happening with Tamara, like, everyone's like scrambling. There was never a moment being like, guys, like, that was fucking awesome for the first 18-19 days. And then it went a little squirrely at the end there, and the government, they had to make it squirrely at the end there. If they didn't get that fear porn and those protest scenes and that horse trampling and the beating up and, like,
they needed that demoralizing moment to bring down that energy, to bring down that love, to bring down that positivity that was happening, and things were getting done, and things were changing, and we were making monumental strides to getting our freedoms back and to getting our kids unmasked and getting, these jib jabs out of people's arms and stuff. We did some monumental things there. And they were like, okay, yeah, fine, you forced our hand. Well, now we're going to stomp you down to make sure you don't come back and do that. Well, guys, we're coming out on the 21 days right now. So I have 3 weeks left of my house arrest. So all of this will be behind me if the Crown doesn't get their appeal. We are moving forward from all of this that's gone on. And Jamie, you've seen it and everything. We were calling it the Redemption Tour 2025 when I get out of here. And you're going to see things. You're going to get the book come out. You're going to get, I'm moving, Kyle. I don't know if you know this. I'm moving to Montreal, actually. I've been offered a studio position at a big podcasting company out of Montreal, where I will have my freedom of speech, where I will have a professional director and editing side of things. I am in full control of all content. I am full control of my guests. I have full control on all questions I can ask. So that's where we're leading out of this from now. And then from then on, like the world is going to hear about all of this for me on a world tour level. We are going to make sure that that this gets some kind of redemption.
Excellent. Well,
yeah, man.
One step at a time, and let's go. And hopefully, hopefully tomorrow, it's like, that is able to kind of unfold clearly. And again, I think I'm at the point now where I'm ready to kind of close on this. We've been going almost 2 hours, and then wake up, and tomorrow we've got a busy day. I know I'm going to be doing a couple. I'm sure you'll probably be doing some media tomorrow. I'm supposed to do some Rebel News and some, and I don't know. And this is a great thing with the StreamYard and all is actually we are the media now, as they say.
Yeah.
You don't need it. Do we need CBC?
Well, and that's my thing to everybody out there is just this. If you haven't got out there and voted yet, I don't give a shit if you haven't voted or you don't want to vote or you think it's corrupted. Guys, I'm asking you for me. Get out there and vote Pierre so that I can hold this son of a bitch accountable to getting all my charges absolved and to get this back, this Crown judicial system exposed for what it's worth, for what they are, this weaponized to this judicial system. And I will put it on Pierre. I will make sure that I stay on him. But for me, if you can, cast that ballot tomorrow. Do it for me.
And Pierre's likely not going to be on your ballot, so vote for the Conservative Party, because that will be whoever the candidate for the Conservatives are. That person wants to represent you.
Hey, nice hat, Kyle.
Thank you.
U.S. trucking.
Americans' most essential.
Hong Kong.
Hong Kong, he says.
Hong Kong.
No, I appreciate it, guys.
Let's go, guys.
Oh, don't use those. Those will get you. That'll get you in jail. No megaphones. No megaphones. No air horns.
Unless you're
horns. I mean, I had my RV during the whole campaign. I put my sound box on top of my RV, and we just cruised around playing awesome music everywhere. It was such a trip.
Want to share my screen just so we can show everybody? Ladies and gentlemen, I do have the tattoo. This is my ballot. I voted on Friday, the last day. This was me. At least I put my name there. I used the blue pen. I marked the X. Get out there. Make that same mark, please. Help everybody out. Come on, guys. That's it. I'm
Bailey Burton. Let's go.
I'm good, guys.
All right. Well, Pat, bless you. Thank you. Jamie, bless you. Thank you. Everybody who tuned in, the 723 Facebook reactions, the 3,333 people who have tuned in across the various channels. And I feel like those numbers are even suppressed a little bit because I feel like it was a little bit higher than that. Keep spreading this. If there was anything that you heard that was really impactful, please clip it, share it, send it to your family, send it to your friends. Absolutely. Get the message out. Remember, it's not PP, it's PMP. Pierre Marcel Polyev, PMP. Pierre is my pick. Pimp, are you voting for
Hey,
the
Kyle.
pimp? Let's go.
Thank you.
Thanks
Thank
again,
Thank
buddy.
you, Pat.
Tell your brother I said hi.
Listen, Pat says hi. I know he's not.
See you guys.
See you guys.
See you guys. Woo! Ending stream.